All right, team, a very, very, very warm welcome. Welcome to webinar 3 of the Life Transforming series. Really excited to have you guys here. This is one of my most exciting webinars because this is the webinar that came about as a function of me questioning what did I discover? What were my realizations in my transformation journey? What were the things I questioned and didn't blindly believe or blindly follow that led to my transformation? How did I have to re-understand stuff? And by re-understanding something, this is a conversation on an invitation to all of you as we're on this journey of understanding transformation around how to think differently around well-being, how to think differently around nutrition, how to think differently around how we reboot and rewire our physique, our body composition, our metabolism, and so on. Now, to set context, there's a phenomenal thought leader and transformational guru, a guy called Bucky or Buckminster Fuller. Some of you might have heard of him. Some of you might have read some of his books. Some of you might have participated in programs that, if not created by him, were created by people that were students of his teachings. And he has been a real genius in the space, and he has, really inspired people to think differently, to think way outside the box. And he has this beautiful quote, which is, "You never change things by fighting the existing reality. You change something by creating a new model that makes the existing model obsolete." Now, what does that mean? If all of you had some understanding before this program of what it requires or what it entails to lose weight and lose fat, and I'm speaking also to Ancoras. So you might be an Ancora on this program and you're like, hey, I know what to do. And now I invite you to consider that what you know to do, the way you're thinking, and your total belief system supports your action-taking system. I'm going to say that again. What you believe and what you value supports your action-taking system. Now, you might believe or know, understand a calorie deficit will create fat loss, but how you act or what you value will really tell me how you will act or not act. So if you know of a certain thing, but you don't act upon it, you haven't got enough of an understanding to be inspired to act upon it, right? Or you know about it, you create the deficit, and you have something in the evening, and you botch, you sabotage all your progress for the day, you reverse that. So there is something else you believe called, yeah, but this ice cream won't kill me if I just have one, or this piece of cake won't kill me. So those beliefs, we tend to not see them as something we believe. You'll act in accordance with your belief. And so what Bucky is saying, and what I'm inviting all of you to think, is that you need to form a whole new understanding and a context of the role of food in you, the quantity of food, the timing of food, the role of exercise, the role of movement, the role of your mindset, the role of your relationship to yourself. You have to create a whole new context that makes the old version obsolete. Not just tweaking the old version, which is like, hey, I'll walk a bit more, I will eat a little bit less, I will add a bit more protein. That is making small tweaks and modifications to more or less the same thing, which means very little is changing. You're more or less in the same step or same stage as you already were. Now, Bucky gave an example of he's renowned for being behind the design of these geodesic domes, which you see in the background. And he understood certain principles of, hang on, if we believe this about the strength or structure of a hexagon or of triangles, and if collectively the support of a matter or material as a triangle is this solid, if we connect them together collectively, they can sustain and uphold a certain pressure. And he led to the design and development of geodesic domes. So he applied what they understood at a micro level around a shape and its strength, and how they could use this to create a whole new shape, right? Which to other people first, they couldn't think outside of straight walls and pillars in designing a particular building. And so he had to make obsolete his thinking that buildings are only four corners, sharp corners, straight walls. He had to obliterate that that's the way to design or make modifications to. He had to start with a whole new, unseen version of what could be possible. So similarly, we're going to look at that around a certain element or aspect of our health and our well-being, and we will learn what that entails. So for now, we want somebody powerful to read out this objective. We had Gira and then Amir. We'd love somebody else now to read out the objective. And we have Mira in the house. Mira, go for it.
The Life Transforming series, Welcome to Life. Objective: at the end of this challenge, I will be someone who, one, has altered my own relationship to food, exercise, and myself. Two, understands the real role of my body, mind, and intellect. Three, knows that my environment, community, and conversations dictate the consistency and quality of my health habits. Four, inspires and empowers my community to take on their health too, through my social media and in-person sharing, to show up as a health leader and a go-to person. The more I normalize and share what I value, my healthy lifestyle, in person or on social media, the more the world around me is inspired and empowered to start living a healthy lifestyle.
Awesome. So Mira, where and which of these objectives, pick on any one you're beginning to see that's coming true. That is what I'm realizing. That is beginning to make a difference in my life.
So right now I find 1 and 2 really, really close to myself. I have started looking at food differently. It sounds so easy to say this, but it is. I find it myself feeling weak when I don't exercise. Like I feel lethargic, and then exercise boosts my energy, and I feel really good. Again, then that relates to how my mind feels, how my body feels, how I perceive things, and it changes my thought process. And I'm literally finding myself looking at everything I'm eating. Like even when I go to the supermarket, I'm checking everything I need to check. And that's related to what I talk about it at home as well. So again, it's the knowledge that's like turning away into the house as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome, Mira. That is powerful to distinguish. But I hope everyone got, like what you said, Mira, was literally genius. And it's a genius realization, something people learn only as an aha, which is that when we exercise, we feel more energetic. And most of us think when you ask, hey, how do you get energy? What we're told in school is consume food to get energy. So your brain will be told in theory, food equals energy / energetic. But actually, energy demand triggers energy generation. So when you go for movement, you're triggering the energy demand, it triggers energy release within the body. And so is true for like I said the other week about carbs. Carb consumption at the start, you've started to create the demand for carb, leads to more carb cravings across the day, right? Whereas if we have the right macro, we're able to balance what we consume across the day and minimize us going over on the wrong macros that we don't want. So it's true for movement and exercise. And the body will supply you with what you demand of it. So if you're lethargic, sluggish, resting, you're basically demanding of the body, give me rest or sleep state. And if you slack off, relax, sit down, you will feel more sluggish. You will feel more sleepy. So you're literally cueing your body by what you subject it to. And this is why if we do what we know will generate what we need, then we will make wiser choices around our habits. So real powerful distinction, Mira. And I hope most of you get to also discover and realize that. Now, we have quite a lot to cover today, and it's a very powerful technical session. So I won't go over webinar 2 assignments, but I know a number of you have shared your visualizations, your vision boards, your designer days. There is no right answer here, but you really want to look at in your vision board, yes, there is you living the new lifestyle, visualizing the actions and the habits, and there will be some outcomes there. So please really be responsible for that. Have your vision board somewhere in front of you. Actually, there's one that we did earlier this year, slightly hanging off there. That's mine, that's Ambika's. And you want to be able to see it regularly, right? And cue and remind yourself to say, wow, when I was in that visualization state, I was bold and audacious enough to demand or expect or request this of the world and the universe, right? And it reminds you to continue to play for that which you saw yourself stepping into or doing. Again, very important number three, these you want to know these numbers across the program. So keep checking in on these numbers till they are somewhat memorized. And of course, they will change with your weight, with your fitness, with your speed, with your pace. So you really want to understand that. And then to sign up to something uncomfortable. I'd love to know who here signed up to something over the week. Who signed up to something out of the comfort zone? Sachi, what did you sign up to?
I finally signed up. I mean, I like swimming, but I'm terrible at swimming. I can't do more than a couple of legs. So I signed up to basically get my swimming lesson and really go for it in terms of I have this dream of being able to do these laps that you see people do on TV, that they just go one after the other, and they're never out of breath. I've one lap and I'm like panting. So I signed up this week.
Awesome.
Yesterday, actually. I signed up yesterday.
That is awesome, 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 Sachi. I was 43 when I discovered that I was never taught how to breathe properly with swimming. Swimming, I'm also like you, and I also have that vision and goals. And in one of our sport retreats we created for treaters, where I really got the correct approach to breathing and how to manage that. And it's brilliant that you've been able to create and distinguish that. And what I do recommend for anyone that signs up to something which is learnable, ideally, you want to be going for 10 to 12 sessions. You want to make sure that your brain is permeable and receptive to a new methodology. What we're doing here is you're setting your brain up to discover new means and modes of growth and learning, right? So while you're taking that on and you're also taking on your well-being, you continue to be receptive to your whole new you that you create, and a whole new world of possibilities that you probably couldn't imagine stepping into if it wasn't for this new level of fitness and growth in whether well-being or any other area that you step into. Coach Kirill, very quickly, what did you sign up to? And then Sanjay, and then we'll move on.
So, hi everyone. So we've got this horrible hill outside our house, and I've signed up for do 7 hill climbs for 7 days. So every day I'm doing it with a neighbor who I'm talking to really actively about FITBANKER as well. So yeah, it's non-negotiable. Every day we're climbing this hill 7 times.
So you've done it already, or is it starting?
Yeah. No, already on day 4.
Ah, amazing, 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 amazing. When you said I got this hill outside my house, I thought she was referring to Mount Kenya, but okay, it's this the hill outside your house.
Not
Sanjay?
yet.
Well, you can see it from your house, so that's why I thought it might be Mount Kenya.
Hi. I've signed up for doing the London Marathon. Never
Awesome.
jogged. I've started jogging slightly, and my target is doing the London Marathon next year.
So have you done the application?
I have done the application.
Okay,
So it's
so
gone
now
into a
you're
ballot
waiting.
and waiting for the result.
Awesome, awesome. And if you don't get the result, what you going to do?
I'm going to do another marathon, but the target has to be there.
Awesome. Or you can get in on a charity.
Yeah. Either way, I have put my name down for charity and see what happens. But I want to achieve that. I've never jogged, but now this is inspiration for me.
Okay, and you're based in London.
I'm based in London. I'm in Uxbridge.
Awesome, awesome guy. You could get London is near him, guys. You got to, and if you're into running, you got to find Sanjay and find a plan and opportunity to get him to make this happen. So, what is it that we've just done by signing up to something we cannot do, guys? What we're doing right now is we are working on. We have all muscles across our body that we're working on, our guns and our six pack and our quads and whatever it is. But your brain too is a muscle, and that muscle not developed is also going to limit your growth. And by signing up to something you can't do, we're moving from the comfort zone into the fear zone. And you can see now, once you step in that fear zone, you commit to something, you have to go into the learning zone, which is, hey, now I've got to go and do my swimming classes. Now I've got to go and discover how do I go from couch to 5K? How do I go from, I don't jog to I'm going to do the London Marathon, which is a very big and bold move and very doable. And very doable, right? With structure, with a plan, it's very doable within a year. To stepping into now your growth zone. Once that's done, you'll be able to find purpose, live your dreams, set new goals, conquer objectives, and so on. So, and by you all signing up to coaches, being part of a team, you are part of a methodology that works. Our program works this way. There's theory delivered to you in your brain and topping up your intellect and value system on these webinars. There is the 747, which is the physical habits we're asking you to take on and do at a minimum. Then there is the coaching calls and the Friday surgery, which are the conversations that keep pulling you to consistently show up. And if you don't have these three, this triad of support structure around you, we won't be growing in a certain particular direction. So what the implementation is, the secret of the FitBanker Challenge is the presence of those three. If you show up to those three and leverage those three, you start to see whole new neuronal pathways, whole new habit forming, whole new levels of stepping out of your comfort zone and creating a whole different you that emerges on the other side of this program and beyond. So your coach is here also to regularly see when you're retracting back into your comfort zone and yank you out. So please really be open to give your permission, give your coach permission to yank you out, right? To keep yanking you out of that comfort zone. If you're truly authentically interested in your growth, you want to be able to look at your coach as, hey man, I got the most annoying, triggering coach. I got the most empowering, powerful coach. I got the coach that was perfect for me, right? This is the kind of personality or statement or line or holding me to account that triggers me, but maybe that's the trigger we've needed to prompt us to come out somehow differently without our default reaction, right? Which is quitting and not showing up on calls, snapping back at the coach. But actually, what is this person saying to me that will allow me to grow from this particular point that I'm in? All right. That's it. We're going to go into today's technical content. I said we're going to look at what's called, one of the assignments was to observe what happens to food that you've consumed. A few seconds ago, maybe some of you saw, I had a drink, I took a sip. Where is that thing right now? Is it in my food pipe? Has it already reached my stomach? Is it already gone beyond my stomach? Who knows? Well, I'll tell you what happens. In the first 30 seconds when you consume food, it takes about 30 seconds to consume food. And depending on which science you believe and which mum you had, you were probably told to consume between 16 to 32 chews or bites of every food. Like in Ayurveda, they say you should have about 32 chews at food. Now, when you do that, you're doing most of the mincing and the breaking down here in your teeth so that the rest of the digestive system does not have as much of a load because your teeth have taken the load of grinding and breaking down what you meant to consume. So we take on average about 30 seconds to chew. The next 6 to 8 hours, the food goes through the food pipe and it goes into the stomach. And in the stomach, natural acids and gut bacteria start to attack it. They start to break down the food. Now, natural gut bacteria, which is from nature, and natural stomach acids can only break down, guess what? Natural substances. If you put a copper coin in there, nothing will happen to the copper coin. That copper coin will come out your backside the same way the next day. Nothing will be dented or damaged about it. If you put a piece of plastic, guess what happens with that piece of plastic? It will come out the next day exactly the same way. You swallow a piece of Lego, you're going to find it out the backside tomorrow, right? Don't try this. I'm just take my word on this one. But if you consume a capsule, which is made out of vegetable capsule, which is made out of plant or animal substance that's digestible, then your stomach acids and your gut bacteria will be able to break it down. But guess what goes in our foods? You have colors and preservatives that and certain chemicals that come from non-natural sources. You have something like alcohol. It doesn't come from natural sources, right? Or it's transformed into a state that is now not natural, right? So it's not something that we can pull out of the water or we can pluck off a tree in its state. But after a fermentation process, we have extracted alcohol and at a certain concentration that is far from what may be found even in certain rotten fruits, right? That it is a challenge to break down. Now, when it's a challenge to break down, the more unnatural it is, the more strain on the digestive system to process that. It doesn't know what to do. The gut bacteria is confused and the stomach acid cannot break it down. So the more unnatural substances, the longer the digestive process takes. And then it could take 12 to 18 hours to pass through the large intestine and colon. And the more processed something is, the more additives it has, the more artificial substances it has to it, the longer it will take to pass through that particular journey. And you can have something like a dyed, D-Y-E-D, a dyed, colored, fried, and full of preservatives piece of beef or steak hamburger that's been fried can take up to 3 days it can still be being processed slowly through our digestive system, which is an unnatural strain on our particular body. Whereas a simple macro structure, like what are called monosaccharides, which is the structure of fruits, can be broken down in under an hour. What else impacts how long it takes to break down stuff? The quality of what you consume, the quantity, the size. Your age is a view that's out there, but also we age only when our level of play reduces in life. Whether you're male or female, apparently males digest food quicker than females. Females take longer. And also females' digestion rates vary. So some of you that experience bloating and water retention and different levels of appetite that time of the month as a correlation with hormones and mood. What you eat, simple versus complex carbs, right? Now, what do we need to eat? If you're being told this is what happens with what you eat, then what should we eat for optimal digestion time and absorption by the body and functionality within the body? Well, firstly, all of us need water. We need hydration. We are on a planet that is 2/3 water. 66, 67% water is the planet that we're on. And we too are a molecule within this planet. We're also 65 to 66% water, right? So we are kind of uniform at we're a microcosm of the macrocosm that we're within. And we should also be 2/3 hydration. Now, the actual exact hydration is about 45 to about 55% for females and 50 to about 65% hydration for males. That's a good hydration level. And it will vary, like I said, between female and male, but that should be the optimal range you should have. Then we need 3 nutrients that are often measured in large size. Large means then grams. And those are called macronutrients. So there's many nutrients in the world, but the 3 large size ones that are consumed and measured in grams are called macronutrients, which are carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Now, I want you to note this because I keep asking this on webinars, and people don't know this answer. So I'm going to actually put this on this particular screen. But carbohydrates, we are told in school, give you energy. And yes, they're the first go-to source of energy. But after a certain amount that your body needs immediately, the rest goes into storage in a form called glycogen. And how quickly these things convert into your blood sugar and then go into storage is put on a scale called the glycemic index. And we'll discuss that in the next couple of slides. So carbohydrates are not all the same. Not every carb is the same. But they are put on a scale of 0 to 100, and some are even over 100, 100 being glucose. Glucose in digestible glucose, as well as glucose in your bloodstream or blood glucose, is pegged at the same rate as 100. So the quickest absorbing in your blood will be glucose, and everything else in proportion to at the same serving size to glucose is pegged and ranked as 50 or 60 or 70 based on how quickly it's absorbed in comparison to glucose. Protein is the only macronutrient. So if you look at your cartilage, if you look at your tissue, if you look at your ear, if you look at your nose, all of this can only be built through amino acids. Amino acids are the only building blocks of your body. No tissue on you is built by any of the other macronutrients other than through amino acids. And amino acids are predominantly present in proteins. So proteins is where we get amino acids from. They're for muscle growth, they're for recovery, they're for your growth as a human being. Fats are a form of reserve energy, but fats also play certain conditions for things like heart health and brain health. So there are good fats versus bad fats. And then the other nutrients found in very small serving sizes or very small portions, minuscule portions, measured in either micrograms or milligrams, are called micronutrients. So those are categorized as vitamins and minerals. And what these do is they strengthen the immune system, right? So they strengthen the immune system, they support cell growth, they contribute to things like nail tissue, hair growth, healthy skin, strong bones. Now, all the optimal quantities of vitamins and minerals that we need won't be present in what we consume every day because we don't consume the same thing every day. And regardless of even if we consume the same thing every day, today's farming processes and your body's level of stress or needs in the day will change based on your movement, your exercise, your functionality, etc. And this is where supplementing is key. So we're going to look at supplementing as also another part of nutrition. A subset of nutrition is supplementing. And then timing. The timing of what you consume makes a difference. If you know that across a week you have to consume 1,000 grams of protein, right? It doesn't make sense to consume 1,000 grams today, like, hey, I've done with my weekly dose and I don't need protein for the rest of the week. The timing of when it's supplied and the demand is there in the tissue matters. So the timing of what you consume and as it's demanded really makes a difference. The timing of when you take a supplement and the role it plays in you matters. Like, hey, this is going to help me with better rest. I should take it before bedtime. This is going to help me be more alert. I should take it in the morning. So the timing of what you consume really makes a difference to what and when we consume. Now, what should we consume and how on earth were they identified? Well, for lack of a better word, as human beings have evolved, they've looked at different people from different parts of the world and they said, hey, how come those people from that island are huge and they're massive and they're tall and they're natural rugby players? And how come these people from this part of the world are small and they're midgets and they're this? And they looked at what's present here and what's missing here and why do these guys have a strong immune system and why do these guys live long and why do these have great heart health and why do these guys have high cholesterol? And by elimination, identified what are called essential nutrients and then also identified what are called non-essential, and somewhere in between is what's called conditionally essential. So essential means, hey, you need this, it's needed, it's essential, it's critical, it's important, and your body does not naturally generate it, right? Because if your body generated everything, we didn't need to eat it all. But we need to get it from somewhere. So we need to get it from an external source from Mother Earth, and it will come from plants, it will come from the sun, it will come from the soil, it will come from the water, and those are essential nutrients. And then non-essential is, hey, this is something we found, but we've seen no benefit or role or function that it plays. So why on earth are we consuming it? In fact, it might be detrimental to us. And conditionally essential is, it's good for certain people dealing with certain conditions at a certain point in time, sometimes with age, or sometimes with forming a deficiency. So the 90 essential nutrients are 60 essential minerals, which we have on screen. There are 16 essential vitamins that we have here on screen, and there are what are called 12 essential amino acids. Now, these 12 essential amino acids, there are 3 of them are considered conditionally essential, which is some people, for a period, they were debated or considered as, hey, we don't really know if you need it, but as we age, these play a more important role, or these play certain functions that we think will support you and you should take them. But I say, as a FitBank on the FitBanker challenge and the active lifestyle that you're living, and to optimize you and to defer certain elements of aging, I would put these as essential, which is arginine, taurine, and tyrosine. So taurine is the one that's often found in like energy drinks or BCAAs. L-arginine is an amino acid, and anything with the letter L dash is an amino acid, but the L dash means that's the edible form. And otherwise, you'll find L-valine, L-leucine. Then amongst them, 3 of them are called your BCAAs, your branch chain amino acids, which is L-leucine, L-isoleucine, and L-valine. Those 3 are your branch chain amino acids, which is what I'm having here. This is a count of BCAAs. And what do? They help with muscle recovery. They expedite the recovery. Now, why am I interested in expediting the recovery? I could probably wait till it's fully recovered, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, and then go to training, and I may or may not get optimal recovery. So we'll look at the role of supplements and why they're key. And then from fats, we get 3 essential fatty acids, omega-3, 6, and 9. And these are only beneficial if consumed in the ratio of 2-1-1, which is we need a ratio of 2 molecules of omega-3 to 1,6 and 1,9. Unfortunately, most of the fats and oils that we get, which are cheap extracts from cheap seeds, cheap vegetables, or cheap nuts, are loaded with omega-6. So they break up and they interrupt the beneficial structure of what we optimally need is omega-3, 6, and 9. Now, because I said I'll raise this earlier, I just wanted to share and check this question came up last week, when we are consuming carbs, proteins, and fats, what is 1 gram of carb in terms of calories? How many calories is 1 gram of carbohydrate?
0.33.
4.
It's 4.
4. 4. How about how many calories is 1 gram of protein?
4.
4.
Yeah. How many calories is 1 gram of fat?
9.
Brilliant. You guys have read the textbook. All right. So I'm just going to put that there because that question was coming up last week on the surgery. And how about fiber? How many calories is 1 gram?
4.
It should be 0.
Sorry, what's the answer?
0.
Yeah. So basically, fiber is also 4 calories, but it's not digested in the human body. So they basically go out. So it's inside of carbs, a subset of carbs is fiber, but that fiber is non-digested by the body, it's not non-absorbed. So what happens is that it goes out the body. So when we talk of, when you read or someone say, what are the net carbs? They're saying, what's the total carbs less the fiber? That's what they call net carbs. So important for us to understand the calories. Now, why do we supplement? Well, supplementing is very important. One of the myths that enter people's mind is it looks like a capsule, it must be a medicine. So guys, I'd love to do this program, but I just don't want to take that processed stuff called protein powder, that processed stuff called L-arginine, that processed stuff called X. I don't want to take that medication. I'm saying to you, they've come out of the broccoli, they've come out of the cabbage, they've come out of the moringa, they've come out of the seaweed that we need to consume. They've come out of the algae they've come out of the oils and seeds and nuts that we need to consume, but they're giving us only the good bit that we need, having extracted the bits we don't need. And it's not a replacement for a diet, but it's a top up to what the other foods we're consuming aren't giving us. Now, why do we need to take supplements daily or whatever frequency, depending on which one it is? Well, there's what's called nutrient gaps, right? So everything that we're consuming will fall short of optimal levels of vitamins, minerals, and aminos. Now, optimal will vary from person to person and your level of activity that day. Higher demands from training. The more we train, the more you will need, especially for things like recovery. And this is why, like I say, if I'm taking BCAAs now, it sets me up for a better performance tomorrow than if I were to say, oh, let me wait 3 days and let my soreness reduce before I can go again, because then I won't be progressing in terms of my muscle growth. Faster recovery, reduced inflammation. Protein, omega-3s, magnesium, they allow for relaxed muscle and better recovery. Performance enhancement. Creatine, L-arginine, one of my favorites. I hope you guys saw my last reel on L-arginine. Men, if you didn't see it, your wife should forward it to you. So L-arginine, electrolytes, they support strength, endurance, stamina. So check out that reel that I put out on Instagram if you haven't seen it. Long-term health insurance. Well, supplements don't only contribute to what we need currently in terms of nutrient needs, but they contribute to things like heart health, like our joints, like our immunity, and our gut health for the longer term. And many of us who are going to get dementia, early onset dementia in our 60s, or Parkinson's, or rheumatoid arthritis, or some of you might already be diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis now in our 40s. The sad news is it didn't happen the day you were diagnosed. It started 20 years ago. And today could be the beginning of your 20 years ago, right? So if you start to make the right choices now, 20 years from now, you could avoid getting a label of any of those particular conditions. And even if you have one of those labels, by taking on the FITBANKER challenge, you're proactively taking steps to reverse the symptoms and the effects of that particular label or diagnosis. So you are really investing in yourself right now. Even things like your posture in our 80s and 90s, by taking on certain training and supplementing at this particular age, we are investing in and reducing our insurance premium for sure for the longer term. And the sixth one is convenience without the compromise. Like I say, if you can't get access to that, if it's not in season, that best source of magnesium, that best source of vitamin C, that best source of whatever, it's not in store today, you forgot to shop, guess what? You have it in a bottle. You can take it and it's come and created in a level and store that you can have. Now, there are gazillion supplements out there, and there are many supplements I'll recommend that might not be on screen right now, but the ones that we have on screen right now are ones that I really recommend. And the ones that are in red are, I want to put them as almost the non-negotiables or my top favorites, right? So these are supplements that contribute to 3 areas of your life. One is your body, number 2 is your brain or your mind, and the third one is your immune system, right? At a bodily level, when you train and you want to recover, it's important to have things like creatine, L-arginine. L-arginine, females 2,000 milligrams or 2 grams a day, and males 3 grams a day, right? Post-workout, ZMA, or post-workout or before bedtime, ZMA, creatine will also help. To help sleep, things like GABA would help you. During your workout, now I've not circled that because it's kind of 50-50. It may or may not improve your muscle recovery, but it's also present there in a good protein. If you get a good protein, you'll be getting your BCAAs as well as what's called your EAAs, essential amino acids. At a mind level, what contributes to brain performance? L-theanine is great for calming the mind. People that deal with anxiety, they feel jittery. L-theanine is a really good one. I would say about 200 milligrams a day you can have. You can even have up to 400 mg, but I recommend 200 milligrams. 5-HTP, This could be one that you kind of go on and off, cycle on and off when you find that you're dealing with little mood swings, feeling low, feeling depressed, sad. 5-HTP is a great way to get a natural source of serotonin enhancer that comes from a particular seed called Griffonia. And you can get that particular seed, which will contribute to your better mood and brain health. It's almost like an antidepressant, non-chemical, right? Thermal boosters, they will increase focus, attentiveness, productivity, and they could also help minimize craving. So sometimes you find them put in what are called fat burners, but they don't burn fat. They're just actually having you feel fuller for longer. Immunity. When the first thing you look at, somebody who has a weak immune system has got low immunoglobulin in your blood. But what contributes to that healthy levels are good levels of zinc. Zinc, magnesium, and vitamin B6. But specifically, zinc works towards immunity, magnesium towards muscle recovery. But combined zinc, magnesium, and vitamin B6 in that ratio is called ZMA. Vitamin D3 really contributes to our immunity. It contributes also to our mood, by the way. So D3 would also be there undermined. If you are South Asian or Afro-Caribbean, you need to consume more because the more melanin in our skin, the darker the skin, the less absorption we have. And so the more melanin you have, the less absorption you will take in naturally of vitamin D3 from the sun. So we want to supplement that. Now you can take 3,000 to 5,000 IU or 20,000 IU per week. And it's also something to regularly check with our blood work, especially if you are, well, one of two things from the South Asian Afro-Caribbean community or anybody else, especially in winter and you're in darker parts of the world, right? So where you don't get enough sunlight. So I would definitely check at least once a year your vitamin D3. But otherwise, when winter comes, like you should definitely be getting onto these. Vitamin C, 1,000 milligrams, but mostly I recommend you're having that when you're unwell. You have a runny nose, that really helps boost that. Otherwise, you can get a vitamin C from natural sources in the food that we consumed. Now, we said not all carbs are the same, but this is the unique behavior of food. Food has what we call a glycemic index, which is when we consume food, certain foods very quickly within 30 to 45 minutes will spike up your blood sugar and they release a hormone called insulin. Insulin will push it down and it will crash and it will take your blood sugar lower than your starting state that you woke up with. So you can see this red line goes way below and then we feel this crash and we feel sluggishness and lethargic. And then we turn to sugar because we think it needs to get us back high again. It's a default biological response. And low GI foods will keep our blood sugar stable and steady for longer, up to 2 hours. So better to have more low glycemic index foods than to have high glycemic index foods that cause havoc and chaos in your blood system and with your insulin. Now, I'm going to share with you what's called the glycemic index chart, some examples of certain foods, and what we're saying on the FITBANKER challenge when we say avoid these, what we call in inverted commas, forbidden foods, scientifically are called inflammatory foods. So we're asking you to avoid inflammatory foods that create an inflammatory response in your body that will have a glycemic index of over 70. Foods that have a medium glycemic index are foods which have a GI of 55 to 69, and a low GI is below 55. Some examples are these. Grains, vegetables. You can see some grains, many are low GI, they're below 55. Vegetables, almost all vegetables, right, are below 55. Fruits, some are below 55, some go slightly over, right? They have a higher sugar content, and that sugar is very quickly absorbed into the bloodstream. It will create a blood sugar spike. But what also matters with fruit is the serving size. So we should have fruit. Fruit is good, but there are certain fruits which have a high GI, but if your serving size is low, what's called the glycemic load will not be as detrimental. I'll talk about the load in a moment. Dairy, right? Dairy, you can see a number of dairy products have low GI, so they don't trigger the blood sugar, but that does not mean they're a complete green light because dairy can also have not great fats, right? It can have fats that are high in omega-6 or don't have the omega-3, and they could also contribute to heart health issues. And then there are foods that we used to call, or we used to say, hey, these are protein foods, but we know once you record an MFP, you realize that for X amount of protein, there's double the amount of carbohydrate. So they become a sort of medium GI food, which you can see based on some of the numbers. And again, the serving size also matters when looking at the glycemic load. Now, glycemic index, as mentioned, is all things being equal, if we measured 100 grams of every food product and consumed 100 grams of it, how quickly compared to 100 grams of glucose does it create a blood sugar spike is how you measure, and they calculated the number for glycemic index. But we don't always consume 100 grams of honey. We don't always consume 100 grams of apple or 100 grams of beans or 100 grams of whatever it is you may consume. We consume things at different serving sizes. This is what brought about glycemic load, which is like, hang on, I only have a teaspoon of honey. So is it really that detrimental? And when you look at that compared to the size of your body and the volume of your blood, it may not have so much of a significant effect. So it might have a low glycemic load. So how do you calculate the glycemic load? You basically look at the GI over 100 times the grams of carbs consumed. Now, glycemic load, if it's 0 to 10, that's called low GL. 11 to 19 is a medium, and a 20 upwards is a high GL. What does that simply mean? Low GL foods, very low to no impact on blood sugar. Medium will have moderate impact on blood sugar, and high will have large blood sugar impact, detrimental. Examples, well, you can see the foods that we recommend and encourage will be under the low GL foods. The ones that are in the moderate, you want to have in moderate serving size. So the serving size really matters. And you can see the foods that show up as large glycemic load foods are things like white rice, white bread, cornflakes, cereals, potatoes, especially in large portions, sweetened juices, sugary snacks. Now remember, potatoes here, what's in brackets is the large portions, right? So in moderation, you can have those. They're not a forbidden food. They're not an inflammatory food, but they are something to just be mindful of, the serving size. And also just they often will appear in many of our foods, in certain curries and mixes. And so to allow you to have options when you go out, it's also not on the list of forbidden foods. Now, that said, I want to introduce you to this beautiful word called metabolism. And metabolism comes from the Greek word metabolismo, so the French word metabolism, which in Greek simply means a change, kind of like a state change, right? Metabolism, metabolien means to change. The combination of these words, right, is kind of like to throw over or overthrow something, to alter its state, right, to change form. And there are two elements of metabolism. One is the breaking down one, which catabolizes something and breaks it down into pieces. The other one builds up. It's a constructive process. It's building blocks, right? And that's the anabolic side of metabolism. So there are two parts of metabolism, and metabolism is the process that leads to either this breakdown or the buildup. Now, why do we need to know this? And why is our metabolism important? And why are we doing this program? And what do we want about our metabolism to happen? Do we want it to be better at breaking down? Do we want to be better at building up? Do we want it to be faster? Do we want it to be slower? Well, it just really depends on what you want your body to do. Now, we'll look at that in a moment, but I want you to understand certain metabolic terms you will see and read out there, and might see that on your body composition scale. So you might not know what they are. You might see it on your watch, and you might see it on MyFitnessPal, where it says your goal number is your total daily energy expenditure, but that goal number is slightly adjusted. So that's an adjusted TDEE. Now, the TDEE, if you were to know, hey, how many calories do I need to survive or stay the same? Then you will go online and you'll search for TDEE calculator. I'm a male, I am 5'11", this is my body weight, how much do I need? And I will tell you how much fuel you need to fuel that body to perform at its level as it is. But most of us aren't here to stay the same. Most of us are here to create some form of transformation. So we need to adjust our TDEE. Now, within our total daily energy requirement or energy expenditure, there are three elements to it. One is called the RMR, which is the resting metabolic rate. These are the amount of calories and energy we need just in rest state. So if we just slept, if we're lethargic, if we're sluggish, if we're sat all day on the couch, you just need 60% of what your TDEE is, right? So on a day that you're sick, guess what happens? We only need to be consuming 60% of our normal calories. But guess what actually happens when you're sick? Your mom cooks your favorite foods. She overfeeds you. Everybody brings chocolates. They bring ice creams. They bring candy. They bring a whole bunch of stuff that actually does the opposite to what your body needs for recovery. We only need 60%. We often consume 200% when unwell and when we're resting. So learn to match supply with demand, right? If your body only needs 60%, why are you oversupplying it? Then you have what's called basal metabolic rate. Your basal metabolic rate is kind of like put quite simply, or oversimplifying it, is if you're in a state of a coma, your organs are functioning, you're just lying there, and we still need your body to be alive and function. That's your BMR. Your thermic effect of feeding. Now, this is the energy required to do the catabolic process of metabolism, which is 5 to 10% of what we consume goes into your stomach and your digestive process to break foods down to release more energy. Right? Now, you want to think about the catabolic process as the way a battery starts a car before it starts to burn fuel, right? So the battery needs a little bit of energy to kickstart the engine, to then get the engine revving for the rest of the metabolic processes to happen. So that's what happens in our stomach. That's what happens in our digestive tract and process. So the stomach and the related organs that do the rest of the breaking down of the foods, 5 to 10% of what we need goes towards there. If any of you have been near a human being that is in their final stages of their life, and I've been a number of times, you begin to see that their organs are shutting down one by one. And what's happening is their TEF is no longer happening. So they're no longer able to break down or convert stored energy or consumed energy into the body. TEA, thermic effect of activity, is for our movement and our gym workout and our running and our everything. 30% of our TDEE is budgeted for that. But unfortunately, like I say, on days that you're not active, you could eat 30% less, but most of us don't, right? So on sedentary days, you could reduce your consumption. Most of us tend to, by habit, consume the same. So this is why the timing and the quantity should match. Supply equals demand. Now, that is a lot of scientific explanation and numbers, and some people get confronted by that. So I love the simple cartoon explanation, which is the way I understood metabolism. Metabolism, put quite simply, is the way your body converts food into three things: energy to spend, energy into store, which is fat, and muscle build and recovery. Now, the old me had cracked and had mastery and had a PhD in converting food into fat. So if you think I was just a fat bastard, which is that guy's name at the bottom right corner, I'm being offensive, he had a mastery in converting food into storage, right? And that's also what I cracked. I had discovered how to do that. And when I realized that I discovered how to do that accidentally, I could rediscover how to do the other bits. How do I convert food into energy? How do I convert food into muscle? Well, what do we need to vary? We need to vary the inputs, and we need to vary the process that creates the conversion. So I had to vary what I consumed, and I had to vary the processes that lead to the demands of energy or storage into muscle, right? So we can influence two things. We can influence the effectiveness, how quickly this conversion happens, and in what ratio, how much goes to energy, how much goes to muscle, how much goes to fat. And so your body, you want to think of it as a scorecard. It's a result. It's the residual effect. It is what's left over after your body has done its metabolic allocation. But what you eat should also depend on what you just did or what you're just about to do. So we want to think about our metabolism as guys, bear with me. I am looking for a charger. You want to think about your metabolism and how you can influence it as a process that we can hack, we can re-engineer, and we can re-engineer this by thinking and being very mindful around what we start to consume, what we begin to consume, and when we need to consume it. So this is why understanding our metabolism and what we consume allows us to... Sorry, guys, I'm panicking because I've got a warning sign. My battery's about to go. Allows us to think about what to consume and when to consume it, plus also in what quantities. Now, what slows down our metabolism? So many of us have joined this program because, hey, guess what? We didn't know this, but over the years, we have crashed our metabolism. How did that happen? Well, we've been doing a number of things unconsciously, like I was doing unconsciously and subconsciously to my body that led to me being the big guy that I was. Well, here are some of the things that I had and that many of us might have or might still be doing and wondering, why is our body not shifting? One is not having an effective meal schedule. An effective meal schedule is, are you effectively consuming what's matching your desire and demand for the day, your expenditure for the day? Not your tongue's desire, but what the body and mind desires to fulfill and execute upon. So we are consuming at different times. You eat breakfast today, You skip lunch, you're busy, you have big supper because you skipped lunch, and that day you didn't go for a workout. The next day, you remember that, the saying called breakfast is the most important meal, which is absolutely not true. And then you have this big, huge breakfast, and then you make a point not to miss lunch. You have lunch, and then you're out late for drinks and thing, and you get high, and it's too late, and you lose your appetite, and you don't eat a proper supper, and you have an ineffective meal schedule. Lack of sleep. Lack of sleep, no matter how good your training and your nutrition is, if your sleep is off, you mess up your metabolism. And this is one of the biggest contributors to people that have what they call stubborn fat. My body's not shifting, I'm doing everything. It will often be correlated with our sleep or some interruption to our sleep. The third is dehydration. Water has a role. One, it hydrates the body, but two, it also moves the digested foods and what we call the bulk along the way as it goes through the digestive process. How much water do you need? Your body weight in kg divided by 30. I shared this early in the last webinar. If you're 90 kilos, divided by 30, you need 3 liters of liquids of water. If you're 60 kg, you need 2 liters of liquids of water. Stress. Stress impacts your hormones, as do moods, the next point. And that impacts your internal environment if you're completely reactive to your external environment. How can you influence that? Influence your external environment, which is create routine. This is my meditation time. This is my sleep time. This is the places I will go or not go to. Like certain social settings will impact our hormones, and then they will impact what we eat or what we drink or what we don't eat or how we self-harm. All as a function of the places and areas we expose ourselves to. And it's an interrupt to the body where during the week you're a certain way and on the weekend you go for a big night out, right? That social life is a function of the Industrial Revolution because cavemen didn't have Monday to Friday as work and Saturday and Sunday for them to go out for a big jolly. There wasn't such a thing, right? The body worked in accordance with sunrise and sunset. We had a circadian rhythm. And what we've done is we've messed it up and we've created social lives and social settings that are completely working against us. So this is where you really want to look at how you are influencing your environment or choosing the right environments to expose ourselves to. Like we say, your habits are a function of your community, your conversations, and your environment. And then age, our response to age, it's not the passing of calendar years, but it's the amount of play that we reduce in our life. So when we stop playing in our life, we stop bringing play into our life, we begin to age, not just physically at a calendar level, but also metabolically. Then how, on the flip side, can we reboot our metabolism? Well, one of the ways to do this is an approach called grazing. So this is literally your normal meal size, reduce it to 30% of your normal meal size. And you can have 5 to 6 meals a day, approximately 100 to 200 calories per intake of a meal or a snack. So that, for some people, this is too low. They can't do this. They do the 100 to 200 and they're like, that wasn't enough, I need more, and then they're not doing grazing, they're doing something else. But grazing would be smaller meals at regular intervals. So every 3 hours, 100 to 200 calorie intake. Again, that number varies based on what your total kcal goal is and what your goals are, your body sizes, and so on. Eating quicker, breaking down foods. So vegetables are simple structures. Fruits are simple structures, monosaccharides. But vegetables are less detrimental to your body than fruits are because of the fructose and the fruit sugar. And today's fruits aren't in their most natural, original, organic state. Today's fruit has been modified to give you larger size, longer shelf life, more beautiful colors, more catchy colors to get picked up off the shelf, more sugar than naturally occurs in them. And so today's fruit is some people call it non-foods, right? So there are certain fruits today that are so genetically modified that they're considered non-foods. But if you do consume veg and fruit, we should have a ratio of 5 vegetables for every 2 fruit servings that we have. So when I say 2 fruit servings, 2 fruit portions, it could be a mix of fruit, or it could be, you have 1 banana and you have 1 tangerine, and you've got to have 5 vegetables in that day. So think of 5 different vegetables, ideally green ones, that will contribute to more quicker breaking down veg. Consume 2.7 to 3.7 liters. We did the math earlier, which is your body weight in kg divided by 30. Consume protein well spread across the day. Now, there are some people that just say, look, have 3 meals a day. Each of them needs to have 50 grams of protein. Non-negotiable. That's a great way to nail 150 grams of protein in a day. Or I would say have 20 to 40 grams of protein across the day. So this could be protein shakes as well as in your meals, 20 to 40 grams of protein per day, per intake of meal or snack time. Drinking green tea and coffee, you don't have to, but it is one of the things that contributes to rebooting your metabolism because they contribute to a particular hormone called adiponectin, which reboots and speeds up your metabolism. Triggering energy demand, which is exactly what Mira said at the start. Triggering energy demand flattens your glucose spike after meal by walking 10 to 15 minutes post every meal. Also starting in the morning, by triggering that energy demand, we're creating that energy release. Triggering what's called hormesis. Hormesis is your body's natural response to some form of a shock factor. And many of us are so stuck in our comfort zone, we're doing anything and everything to avoid discomfort. Like, if you sort of lived in a building and you're on the 48th floor and you said, I'm going to make a commitment to avoid the lift for a certain number of days, you would be signing up to triggering hormesis, right? Which would be a genius move for you to do if you did that. And you'd be shocking your body because it's so used to the lift and the elevator, right? So many of us are, the weather outside is cold and we're like, hey, I'm not going out. I just need to stay here. I don't catch a cold. You're so in your comfort zone, right? So hormesis is some form of triggering a shock response and strain to the body to trigger and reboot your metabolism and trigger hormesis. Some of the ways you can do that is performing HIIT cardio. So some of us might have done certain workouts where at the end of it, you feel a little bit of chest tightness, or even an hour after your workout, you're back at your desk and you're feeling your heart rate is elevated and you're feeling breathless. You've triggered EPOC, excessive post-exercise oxygen consumption. That's what happens when you perform HIIT cardio. Intermittent fasting. Simply by skipping one meal, you can do 12 to 16 hours of intermittent fasting. And you're able to trigger hormesis because you're shocking the body saying, hey, meal's not coming for this period, but it knows what time it's coming. And for that period, it does what it needs to do to respond to rebooting your body's metabolism. Lifting heavy or high volume lifting, or even something of endurance, long distance, to create that muscular stress or strain. And I mentioned last week that don't miss webinar 3 because it is one of those saucy R18 beautiful webinars where you don't want to show up with your kids in the background, but there are going to be some steamy scenes that we're going to be sharing in a moment. But cold showers, as you've seen right now, there's this amazing craze of ice baths and cold showers. And we're 10 years old. And in 2015, if there's a way you can go back to the internet and look in 2015, when I searched for benefits of cold showers, cold shower therapy, there were about 3 or 4 articles that came up. One was a TED Talk, which said, I spoke to my business guru and mentor about why I'm not starting my business, and he told me to do cold showers daily. Another one was an article by I forget what it's called. It's a Silicon Valley magazine that says in Silicon Valley right now, a lot of the Silicon Valley guys are starting their day with 30 seconds or 2 minutes of cold shower exposure to their head underneath the shower to give them that sort of brain freeze and wake up, which is stronger than double espresso, to boost their focus across the day. And then there were a few other articles, and there was Tony Robbins, who has been doing and created cold plunge pools across his homes in the different parts of the world he has, to prime his particular body. And I got really fired up by reading these articles, and I watched this TED Talk. And after watching this TED Talk, I was so buzzing. Remember, FITBANKER was not yet born here. And I said, I read a small article that says cold shower could also contribute to breaking down and burning what's called brown fat. Now, I have 2 types of fat, white fat and brown fat. And the brown fat is more predominant in young babies when they're born. And for many decades and generations, it was believed it's only in babies, adults don't have it. But actually, this was disproven, that there are certain parts of our body where there's brown fat hidden. But cold exposure makes that brown fat, because its role is to produce heat in the body, break down and release warmth within the body. And so I got really excited and I decided to go for a cold shower. And all right, so YouTube wasn't a thing, but I chose to record it then. On, getting comfortable. So here's my R18 scene around taking cold showers. So 2 seconds. Guess what I'm about to do now? That is the hot and that's the cold. I'm going to open the cold. Yeah, do this. It's crazy. This is so good, dude. But you gotta get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And this is the beginning I'm gonna get into this. I'm gonna do my business. So let's get this party started. You know, after a while, your body becomes numb to feeling, numb to sensation. I can only, I can only imagine that's good because fear, emotion, feelings are all artificial. They're all temporary. They go beyond goal. All right, so just finished that cold shower. I can tell you a few things have just disappeared. It is cold, but yeah, well worth it. Try it. Try it today. Change your life today. All right, awesome. The purpose of me sharing that particular video is to let you know, getting fired up and did this, I was like, I'm going to find anything and everything that will contribute to burning the last bits of fat on me. Now, like I say, there is some contribution and effect to that, but it definitely reboots your metabolism. It definitely gets you comfortable daily with the uncomfortable, because if daily you open that shower, we by default want a warm temperature, but if you can daily, regularly go straight under that cold shower, even when you don't feel like it, you will find a lot of things in life that you procrastinate. I've been thinking of booking that holiday, going on that retreat, doing that hike, whatever it is, we start to leap into stuff. And you start to leap into stuff. And I really want to say this contributes to human drive and performance if we can regularly have some form of adversity that we intentionally step into daily and start to get okay and used to stepping into some adversity. Now, I just happened to record that by chance. And I did that after the person that said his business mentor said, you do cold showers. And this business mentor was guiding this person who was asking him, I keep saying I'm going to start my business, but why have I not started? And he said, the reason you're procrastinating, you're hesitating is because you're not used to just leaping into that uncomfortable zone. So do these cold showers and see what happens. And within 3 months, that guy launched his business. And I did this video and that was recorded, and you'll see the upload dates and everything on 22nd Feb 2015. And fast forward 3 months, on 22nd May, we had come up with our business name and idea and started to incorporate the company. The company was incorporated on 28th May 2015. And that was the launch of FITBANKER. And so, which, by the way, final last call, we are exactly 4 weeks away from our 10-year anniversary, our 10-year birthday as FITBANKER. And we are finalizing actually today our bookings for the Zventure retreat happening here in Zambia. For anybody that would like to take 5 days out of adventure, we have whitewater rafting, we have safari, we have the Vic Falls, we have sunset cruise, we have some traditional dinners and dances and drum show happening at a beautiful resort right on the edge of the Victoria Falls. You're welcome to join, but you have to move fast. We're about to close the booking for this. And this is next month. You can join our 10-year birthday and celebration of FITBANKER and the thousands of lives we've got to serve over the period. So if anybody would like to join that, please, please, please do reach out. Before we wrap up today's session, again, there was a question about protein intake. So I just want to very quickly share this. I said protein to take 20 to 40 grams at a go per serving, spread ideally across the day. Now, if you're a morning gym person, then the first column, you take it right after your gym, and then after 3 hours or 4 hours, which is a protein bar or a shake, and then in your lunch, there'll be some protein. At about 4:30, again, protein plus L-glutamine, and then dinner and before bedtime, again, protein plus creatine is a good thing to have. Now, creatine, not everybody needs to have it, but it has multiple benefits, and it's probably the most researched supplement, about 70,000 research studies on it. And it is something that contributes, they're seeing now, not only to muscle, but also to brain performance. In the afternoon, if you're an afternoon person, then in the morning you can have a protein shake. After gym, protein, again, every 3 or 4 hours, and so on across the day. You can see how the protein can be spread. That said, it's a wrap of webinar 3. Webinar 3 assignments. I'm going to invite you to watch the same video that fired me up. It's TEDx talk. Watch it, get fired up. And if you've never done a cold shower, even if you have, I'm going to invite you to record it. Go for a cold shower, record yourself. Of course, in my case, I was very careful with the positioning of my camera and its angle. And I invite all of you guys to be safe and decent as you record yourself. But would love for you guys to Share it on FitBanker Campus. If you want to entertain yourself or motivate yourself, you can go to FitBanker Campus and search for the words cold shower and see some historic cold showers that have been done over the 10 years and people sharing their videos there. So please do share there. It will inspire others amongst the alumni to do their cold showers. There's a great documentary to watch, again, based on science by the Diet Doctor. Look it up. It came on the BBC. It was a documentary called The Truth About Carbs. And to me, this was such a mind-blowing awakener in terms of misleading adverts. We see a lot of top athletes, whether it's in the NFL or whether it's in the Premier League or whether it's Olympians on a track and field, consuming energy drinks like Lucozade, Gatorade, Energade, etc., etc. And what it does is it puts in our mind that those guys to perform at that level consume this drink. Now, what this Truth About Carbs does, they actually explore those energy drinks and actually see what enhances performance and what doesn't enhance performance. But I don't want to give it away. I really invite you guys to watch this thing. You might have to pay for it depending on which part of the world you're in. But otherwise, look for The Truth About Carbs wherever you can find it online. Otherwise, you can get it on this link. And then I need you to guys do some calculations so it enters your subconscious. I need you to weigh yourself in the morning, pre-food and pre-exercise. So say tomorrow morning you weigh yourself. Choose any one day this week. And then for that one day, you're going to burn and consume the same calories. So if you burn 500, you can only consume 500 calories that day. If you burn 800, that means you have to really push to get to an 800 calorie active burn. Then you can consume 800 calories. So this is going to be a push day for some of you. It'll be hard for some of you to burn 500 calories and on that day consume only 500 calories. And then I would need you to calculate on any day of the week. It doesn't have to be connected to that day. How long does it take you to walk 1,000 steps? Just at your regular normal walking pace. How long does it take you to do 1,000 steps? It takes me 11 minutes. And then weigh yourself in the morning of day 2. Now, why are we doing this? There is a view out there called calories in equals calories out. But I want you to find that out for yourself. Is it true that if you consumed 500 calories and burned 500 calories, will you be the same weight the following morning? And some of you will be. And some of you will be a lot lighter. And some of you will even be heavier. And we'll discuss why that is in the next webinar on the Friday surgeries. And then we talked about creating the demand after supper, energy demand by going for a walk. So we recommend, it's highly recommended after every meal to do a 10 to 15 minute walk. But for this week as an assignment, I'm inviting you guys to do a 30 to 60 minute daily walk after supper. And you can check your weight the morning after, especially after supper, guys. If we walk after supper, after the last meal of the day and before bedtime, more often than not, I've tended to find that I'm a lot lighter the following morning. Now, if I walked earlier in the day, I nailed to my steps in my last meal, then I chilled around, then I went to sleep, I would have less of a shift to my weight. So I'm going to say that again. The nights that the last thing I'm doing is walking after a meal, and then I don't consume calories, and then I go to bed, and I wake up the next day, I'll find that I've lost more that day because I created some glycogen breakdown and demand before hitting the sack, and that contributed to a lighter weight the following day. So 12 months from now, all of us will be the same, but we will be a calendar year older unless we embrace two things. Today, we really want to drive home the message of stepping into your comfort zone and embracing discomfort, not as pain, but it's a requirement for your growth. And it's part of the process of learning, and it's part of the process of your transformation. And then as we step into our coaching calls, if you haven't already had yours, receive contribution as an act of your own generosity, that you're being generous with yourself, that I'm open to contributing to myself. And this other being that has done this challenge before me, right? They may have got different results to me, and they might speak a different way to what I'm comfortable with, right? They will be a real contribution to me. But don't worry, our coaches are amazing, kick-ass professionals, and they're designed to speak to your greatness and empower you. And that is what will contribute to your journey. Get comfortable being uncomfortable, and that's a wrap of webinar 3. So on that note, we are going to end today's webinar, and I'll take any questions. I can't stay on too long today. I'm gonna have to just take 10 minutes worth of questions, and then anything else we can take on the Friday surgery. Shinal, question?
Yeah, it's for my